Greetings, my leaders and my champions. I welcome you to Live with Shatufa. We continue to give you updates of what is happening in the nation, around our neighboring countries, as well as all over the world. Demonstrations rock Mozambique over alleged Flerimo electoral fraud. We have talked about this very issue from the beginning, before even the elections were held, where we were indicating that we have quite a lot of shenanigans that were being played between ZANU-PF and the Flerimo in Mozambique. We have seen quite a lot of ZANU-PF Zimbabwean voters being allowed to vote in this election. And we mentioned it and said this is really going to create a lot of problems, considering that Mnangagwa, who happens to be the new SADC chair, is seen also, with his fingers all over the electoral system and process of Mozambique. We saw also the new Flerimo president going around all these countries that are run by these liberation war parties and discussing with them. And I'm sure they could have spoken quite a lot about how they've become so unpopular and, of course, how they are surviving on electoral fraud. And this has happened again in Mozambique. So we don't know whether this is going to just go away like that, or is it going to continue to be a problem? Because right now it seems like Mozambicans are taking to the streets demanding something that must be done about this situation. But of course, we know the arrogance of these liberation parties. Once they declare themselves to be winners, they will never ever allow anyone again to challenge them, and they don't usually reverse what they will have declared for themselves. So this is what is very common with them. But unfortunately, it is sad because it is destroying democracy in Africa, democracy in Southern Africa. Each time that we find that these people that carry themselves as liberators of the African people are actually turning into the oppressors of the African people. This, what has just happened in Mozambique, is very unfortunate, and it's something that really is not expected to be happening. In this century, we must be developing our politics. We must be lifting up the way that our people understand tolerance, understand democracy, and understand the principles that enable countries to be counted as one of the progressive countries of the world. But this is causing a lot of stunted growth to many of the economies of countries whose elections are always contested, like what we see happening in Zimbabwe all the time. ZANU-PF is always, rigging elections, using violence, force, coercion, each time that it is election time, because they do know that they can't win a free and fair election. They can't run the country, or democratically on rule of law, because once they follow everything by the book, they won't spend even a single day in power. And this is what we are seeing. ZANU-PF also beginning to train other liberation parties, because ZANU-PF and Mnangagwa believe that as long as he is still surrounded by these dictators and liberation parties, they can also get away with what they are doing in Zimbabwe. But unfortunately, this may not be true, because one way or the other, these parties or these oppressors or dictators are going to collapse, and they are going to come out. Especially in this time that we are looking forward to a total collapse of Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF. With what they've done in Mozambique, they've created more problems for Mozambique than solutions, because Mozambique will also start to go the very same direction that we have seen Zimbabwe going if things are not addressed. So let me just show you a video of what is happening in Mozambique as Mozambicans continue to show, their dissatisfaction over the electoral process that has just happened in their country. So this is what is happening in Mozambique. At least one thing that I could admire about Mozambique is that they are still able to demonstrate, and they are still allowed to, express their views by, picketing in the streets and, saying their views out. Unlike what we are still, what we are experiencing in our own scenario, where people are arrested even before any demonstration takes place. But this generally is a bad precedent that we are seeing happening in our local SADC environment. And I know that definitely this issue, unless the courts, maybe the courts in Mozambique, would stand up and support the people. Otherwise, we don't expect anything from these SADC leaders at all. We don't expect any support from SADC leaders, as long as it is their Flerimo comrade that has been declared as a winner. They will just bury their heads in the sand and will never do anything, because it is to their advantage also. But this really is a poor kind of management of politics that we are seeing happening in the SADC region. So as for Mozambicans, we just hope and that their cries and their grievances are going to be addressed even through their court systems. And let's hope also that their courts are unlike our ZANU-PF Malawa Mnangagwa courts that are captured and nothing good will ever come out of them. So this is the scenario. When we compare all these things, you will find that Zimbabwe seems to be the worst in all things. We are in the worst scenario possible. This could never happen in Harare, especially seeing those police officers there. We could already have seen guns there, people being shot and people being beaten, but we have not seen people being beaten there. And police were also just around. That is what they are supposed to do, just to maintain order around and not to find themselves taking part or taking sides, like what we always see in Zimbabwe. So in any situation that we can talk about, we can compare with other countries. We are in the West in terms of democracy, the West, the rule of law, the West, the kind of elections that we hold. We never heard of violence in Mozambique or people being coerced. But in our case, that is the order of the day. So our situation really is worse. I know a lot of people want to call Zimbabweans cowards and things like that. But our situation, to be honest, is just so bad, where people can just be killed in the streets just like that, which is not happening in South Africa, Zambia, Mozambique. We don't see that happening in Botswana. You see, we don't hear that happening in other countries that are surrounding Angola. But it is always happening in Zimbabwe with the ZANU-PF. This is what how we are so unfortunate in our struggle, because our struggle, we are dealing with a monster. We are dealing with a reckless and ruthless regime that does not care about human life, that thinks about itself more than it can think about the livelihood of the very people in Zimbabwe. So as for Mozambicans, it is good for them, especially if they demand that things must be put in order right at this stage, because these are issues that really need to be addressed there and then, instead of allowing things to move on and go on. I think this is the problem that happened in Zimbabwe, where ZANU-PF was let for a long time to just go on and on doing wrong things, and people really not challenging them, especially from right inside ZANU-PF, as well as, of course, from the citizens. If the resistance was really put from the beginning, where Mugabe wanted to extend from 10 years, from the citizens themselves, I'm sure things could have been solved and Zimbabwe could be in a better state than what we are looking at right now. So Mugabe is actually our main culprit here, who created this anarchy that we are seeing. Mnangagwa is simply telling himself that if Mugabe did it, can I also not do it? That is how he's behaving. That's why he's trying all the tricks of Mugabe, also thinking that he will just get away with it the same way that Mugabe got away with it. And that is a culture that we want to destroy and kill. We don't want that culture to survive again in Zimbabwe. We want to bring a normal Zimbabwe, normalcy in politics, and also the respect of the rule of law and constitutionalism. That is our fight, and we are fighting this battle knowing that we are going to win in this battle. Otherwise, this is what it is, family. I really appreciate you for being with me on live with Chatufa. Let's support this platform. This is our sister channel, and let's continue to support it so it can also grow like the main channel. by subscribing, by also liking, sharing, and also putting your comment. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. Remember today, let me just announce it. We are going to be knocking off very late today. I have quite a number of shows, especially on the main channel. We are going to cross over after the second show on this very platform. So please don't go away. Wait for more shows that are coming. I think we will be late today, but we still have to talk about these issues. Remain blessed. Till we meet again, you are blessed.